The observation deck hummed quietly as Veltara watched the displays with her compound eyes. Her 6 legs shifted nervously on the metal floor. She had been watching the small blue planet for 3 months now, and what she saw troubled her deeply. They broadcast their violence for entertainment, she said to her colleague. Her translator made clicking sounds as she spoke. Ornsul rippled in his containment tank. The gelatinous creature's purple mass pulsed with concern. I have reviewed their historical data. They have engaged in over 15,000 armed conflicts in the last 5,000 years. Veltara turned away from the screen, showing something the humans called an action movie. Explosions filled the display. The creatures on that planet seemed to enjoy watching destruction. The ship will arrive within 6 hours. We must decide if we should even make contact. The Coalition had rules. When a new species developed faster than light travel, observers watched them for 30 cycles. They studied their behavior, their culture, their capacity for violence. Most species passed easily. They came from gentle worlds where cooperation was natural. Earth was different, the data was clear. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world. Only 3 other planets in the known galaxy had such a rating. The gravity was punishing. The weather was violent. The planet had survived 5 mass extinction events. Thousands of species had evolved specifically to kill and eat each other, and somehow humans had climbed to the top. Look at this, Veltara said, pulling up a file. They have a sport where they throw themselves out of flying machines. For fun. Ornsul's mass shuddered. Why would any creature do that? They call it skydiving. They have hundreds of similar activities. They climb mountains that kill them. They dive into deep water that crushes their bodies. They run until their legs fail. Veltara's voice carried genuine confusion. They seek danger deliberately. The observation station orbited in neutral space between 3 stellar empires. Veltara's people, the Trell, had evolved on a world with low gravity and mild seasons. Ornsul's people, the Marathi, lived in calm seas with few predators. Neither could understand the humans. A warning signal interrupted their discussion. Emergency transmission, Ornsul announced. His form rippled faster, indicating stress. Science vessel Wandering Light has crashed. Veltara pulled up the data. Her heart sank. Krell 9, the moon in the Outer Reach sector. They both knew what that meant. Krell 9 was a Class 11 death world. The atmosphere was toxic. The gravity was crushing. The temperature swung from boiling to freezing. Native predators had evolved in conditions that would kill most Coalition species in minutes. How many survivors? Veltara asked. 23 scientists. The hull is breached. They have maybe 40 hours of life support. Veltara checked the rescue protocols. Her hope died quickly. No Coalition vessel can operate in those conditions. Our rescue teams cannot survive the gravity. The atmosphere would dissolve our environmental suits. Ornsul was silent for a long moment. Then his mass brightened slightly. The humans. What? The humans evolved on a Class 12 death world. Krell 9 is only Class 11. Perhaps they could survive where we cannot. Veltara felt her legs lock in shock. Contact them? Before the observation period ends? That violates every protocol. 23 lives, Ornsul said quietly. 23 of our people will die if we do nothing. The decision was not theirs alone. Veltara contacted the Council of 7. The debate lasted 3 hours. Some council members refused to consider early contact. Others argued that desperate times required desperate measures. Finally, they voted. The message was approved. Veltara composed the transmission carefully. She explained who they were. She described the situation. She asked for help, knowing it might be refused. The human ship was called the Tejan. It was small by Coalition standards, designed for a crew of 6. Its engines burned hot and inefficient compared to Coalition technology. But it was theirs, built with their own hands, and they had crossed the stars in it. The response came within 20 minutes. This is Hyun Woo, captain of the Taijin. We received your message. The voice was calm, measured. Please transmit coordinates and environmental data. Veltara sent everything they had. She watched her screens as the human ship changed course. They were actually coming. She felt hope and terror in equal measure. Another voice came through, female this time. This is Jiwon, ship's xenobiologist. I'm looking at your data on Krell 9. Toxic atmosphere, high gravity, temperature extremes. Sounds challenging. The word made Veltara's translator struggle. The moon would kill most Coalition species in minutes, and the human called it challenging. A third voice joined, male and amused. This is Daeho. I'm flying us in. That gravity reading is accurate? Only 1.8 G? Affirmative, Veltara replied. Daeho laughed. Actually laughed. That's barely more than training protocols. We'll be fine. Veltara looked at Ornsul. His mass had gone pale with shock. Hyunwoo spoke again. We're happy to help, but we need to establish good faith here. What can you offer in return? The question stunned the coalition observers. Veltara had expected immediate agreement or refusal. She had not expected negotiation. You would bargain while lives are at stake? We're going to help either way, Hyunwoo said. But we need to know you're dealing honestly with us. This is first contact. It matters how we start. Ornsul rippled with what Veltara recognized as approval. Practical. They think ahead. The council quickly approved an offer. Technology exchange. Cultural database access. Consideration for coalition membership. The humans accepted. The Tajin accelerated toward Krell 9. Veltara monitored their communications. What she heard disturbed her more than anything she had seen before. The humans were excited. They discussed the mission like it was an adventure. They checked equipment with enthusiasm. One of them, the medic Boram, actually said she was looking forward to seeing alien biology in person. They have no fear, Veltara whispered. No, Ornsul corrected. They have fear. Listen to their heart rates, elevated, adrenaline in their systems. They are afraid. Then why do they sound happy? Ornsul pulsed thoughtfully. Perhaps for them, fear and excitement are the same thing. The human ship approached Krell 9. Veltara watched the countdown. In 6 hours, they would know if the humans could survive what the coalition could not. In 6 hours, they would learn what Deathworlders could really do. The conference chamber aboard the coalition station held representatives from 7 different species. Each had evolved on different worlds, adapted to different conditions. None of them had evolved on a world like Earth. Veltara stood at the center, presenting her case. The humans are our only option. No other species can survive Krell 9's conditions. A council member from the Yireth species spoke up. His crystalline form chimed as he moved. They have been spacefaring for less than 2 years. Their technology is primitive. How can we trust them with coalition lives? Because they evolved to survive worse than Krell 9, Ornsul added from his tank. Their world tried to kill them for millions of years. They won. Another council member, a floating gas being named Wisp, pulsed with concern. Have you reviewed their entertainment transmissions? They glorify violence. They celebrate war. What if this is a trap? What if they harm our people? Veltara had considered this. She had watched hundreds of hours of human broadcasts. Yes, they showed violence. But she had also seen something else. I have observed them carefully. They also show great compassion. They rescue animals from danger. They risk their lives for strangers. They have organizations dedicated solely to helping others. Contradictions, Wisp said. How can they be both violent and compassionate? Perhaps, Veltara suggested. They are complicated. The vote was close. 4 in favor, 3 against. The contact would proceed. Aboard the Tajin, Hyunwoo gathered his crew. The ship was small, designed for exploration rather than combat or rescue. But it was well built and his crew was capable. Ji-won studied the data on her screen. She was young for a xenobiologist, only 32, but brilliant. She had dreamed of meeting aliens her entire life. Now she would get her chance even if the circumstances were terrible. The survivors are from 6 different species. Their biology is completely different from ours. Boram, you'll need to be creative with the medical treatment. Boram nodded. She was older, 45, with field experience in disaster zones on Earth. She had seen difficult conditions before. I've been reviewing what they sent. Some of them breathe methane. Others need completely different temperatures. This will be interesting. Interesting is one word for it, said Young-soo, the security officer. He was tall and calm with the steady demeanor of someone who had seen combat. What about the predators? Daeho pulled up the data. He was the oldest crew member at 50, a pilot who had flown everything from helicopters to orbital shuttles. Big, fast, lots of teeth. Standard apex predators. We've dealt with worse, have we? Ji-won asked. Sure. Remember those bears in Siberia during training? That was one bear. The data shows packs of 15 or more on Krell 9. Daeho shrugged. Then we'll be more careful. Hyunwoo listened to his crew discuss the mission. They were nervous, yes, Their heart rates were elevated, but they were also confident. They had trained for difficult situations. Earth had prepared them well. "Let's be clear," Hyunwoo said. "This is dangerous. The moon wants to kill us. The atmosphere is toxic. The gravity is heavy. The wildlife is aggressive. We could die doing this," everyone nodded. "But 23 people need help, and we're the only ones who can give it. So we're going." Any questions? No one had questions. The Taejin entered Krell 9's atmosphere during an electrical storm. Lightning arced across the sky in colors that did not exist on Earth. The ship shook as wind caught it. Daeho's hands moved steadily on the controls. "Storm is worse than predicted," he said calmly, adjusting approach. On the coalition station, Veltara watched the telemetry. The humans were flying through conditions that would destroy most coalition vessels. The wind speeds alone should tear their ship apart. The electrical interference should disable their systems, but the Taejin kept flying. "How?" Wisp asked, watching the same data. "Manual control," Ornsul observed. "The pilot is not using automated systems. He is flying the ship himself. Through that storm? Impossible. Watch." Daeho brought the ship through the storm and into calmer air. He found a landing site 3 kilometers from the crash. He set the ship down gently on rocky ground. Veltara waited for the humans to emerge. It took 15 minutes. When they did, they wore environmental suits. The suits were bulky and primitive compared to coalition technology, but they appeared functional. Ji-won looked around at the landscape. The sky was orange. The rocks were black. Strange plants grew in twisted shapes. "Beautiful," she said. "Beautiful." Veltara's translator struggled again. The moon was a nightmare. The human called it beautiful. Hyunwoo checked his equipment. 3 kilometers to the crash site. "Bo-Ram, how are you on supplies?" "Good, I brought extra of everything. Not sure what will work on alien biology, but I'll figure it out." Young-soo scanned the area. Movement at 2 o'clock. Something big, everyone turned. A creature emerged from behind a rock formation. It was the size of a horse with 6 legs and a mouth full of crystalline teeth. It watched them with what might have been curiosity. "Native predator," Ji-won said. "Probably never seen anything like us before." The creature took a step closer. Young-soo raised his weapon. "Should I?" "Wait," Hyunwoo said. "Let's see what it does." The creature took another step. Then another. It was testing them, Veltara realized. Seeing if they were prey. Hyunwoo stood still. He did not run. He did not attack. He simply watched the creature watch him. After a long moment, the creature turned and left. "Smart," Young-soo said. "It recognized us as a threat. Or as something unknown," Ji-won suggested. "Not everything wants to fight." They began walking toward the crash site. Veltara monitored their progress. Their pace was steady. The gravity did not seem to slow them down. The rough terrain did not make them stumble. They moved like they belonged there. "I need more information on human evolution," Ornsul said. "This should not be possible." Veltara pulled up Earth's history. What she found shocked her. Humans had evolved as persistence hunters. They did not have claws or fangs. They did not have natural armor. Instead, they could run for hours without stopping. They could track prey across vast distances. They could adapt to almost any environment, and they never gave up. "Look at this," Veltara said. "Humans have colonized every major landmass on their planet. From frozen tundra to burning deserts, from mountains to jungles, they survive everywhere." "How?" Wisp asked. "Stubbornness," Veltara said. "They simply refuse to die." The humans reached the halfway point. Young-soo spotted more creatures in the distance. These were smaller, moving in a pack. They were following the humans. "We're being hunted," Young-soo reported calmly. "How many?" Hyunwoo asked. 8, maybe 10. "Can we avoid them?" "Probably not. They're coordinating." "Smart pack hunters," Hyunwoo considered for a moment. "Then we go faster. We reach the crash site, get the survivors, and get back to the ship before they decide to attack." The humans began jogging, in 1.8 g gravity, across rough terrain. While being hunted, Veltara felt her legs go weak. These creatures were not normal. They were something else entirely. They were Deathworlders, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The crash site looked worse than the data suggested. The science vessel had torn open like paper. Metal twisted in directions that metal should not twist. One wing was completely gone. The other stuck up at an angle, casting strange shadows in the orange light. Hyun-woo approached carefully. "Hello, this is a rescue team. Can anyone hear us?" A weak signal came through his radio. "Inside emergency shelter. We are here." The humans found the shelter in what remained of the cargo bay. It was a flexible dome, designed to maintain pressure and atmosphere. Through the transparent material, Veltara could see the survivors huddled together. They looked terrified. Boram was the first to enter the shelter. She moved slowly, keeping her hands visible. "I am Boram. I am a medic. I am here to help." The survivors pressed against the far wall. They had heard the intercepted transmissions from Earth. They had seen the violence humans broadcast for entertainment. Some of them were trembling. A small creature with feathers and large eyes spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You will not hurt us?" Boram sat down, making herself smaller and less threatening. "No, I promise. I am here to help you heal." She opened her medical kit slowly. The survivors watched every movement. Boram began examining the closest one, a reptilian creature with a badly broken arm. "This will hurt," Boram said gently. "But I need to set the bone. Can you be brave for me?" The creature nodded. Boram worked quickly and efficiently. The creature hissed in pain but held still. When it was done, Boram had fashioned a splint from materials in the wreckage. "There," she said. "Better?" The creature looked at its arm in wonder. The pain had lessened. "Yes, thank you." One by one, the other survivors relaxed. Boram moved among them, treating injuries, offering water, speaking in a calm voice. Within an hour, they were no longer afraid of her. Outside, Daeho examined the ship's systems. Most were completely destroyed, but the emergency power was still functional. He managed to get it running, providing light and a small amount of heat. Ji-won was studying the damage. "This was not an accident." Hyun-woo joined her. "What do you mean?" She pointed to a section of the hull. "See this?" The metal was cut. "Someone sabotaged this ship. Why would anyone do that? I do not know. But someone wanted this ship to crash. Someone wanted these people to die." Hyun-woo felt anger rise in his chest. He pushed it down. There would be time for anger later. Right now, people needed help. Young-soo returned from a perimeter check. His face was serious. "We have a problem. Those pack hunters are getting closer, and they brought friends. I count 20 now. Can we hold them off? For a while. But we need to leave soon. Before dark." Hyun-woo checked the time. They had 3 hours until sunset. "How many survivors can walk?" Boram emerged from the shelter. 8 can walk on their own. 6 need assistance. 9 need to be carried. We do not have enough people to carry 9. Then we make stretchers. We use materials from the wreckage. Daeho and Young-soo began constructing stretchers. They worked fast, using metal frames and flexible material from emergency blankets. Within an hour, they had 9 crude but functional stretchers. On the coalition station, the council watched in silence. Veltara noticed that even the members who had voted against contact were paying close attention now. "They are not leaving anyone behind," Ornsul observed. "They cannot possibly carry 9 beings 3 kilometers across hostile terrain," Wisp said. "Watch." Veltara replied. The humans organized the survivors into groups. Those who could walk stayed in the middle. Those on stretchers were distributed among the humans. Hyun-woo took point. Young-soo took rear guard. The others spread out along the line. They began the long walk back to the Taejin. The sun was setting. The temperature was dropping fast. Veltara watched the readouts. It would reach -40 degrees Celsius within an hour. The survivors would not survive that cold. Their environmental suits were damaged or missing. But the humans had planned for this. Each carried extra heating units. They distributed them to the survivors, ensuring everyone had enough warmth to survive. The pack hunters moved in the growing darkness. Young-soo could see their eyes reflecting light. They were following, staying just out of weapons range. They were patient. They knew the group would tire eventually. "They are waiting for us to make a mistake," Young-soo said. "Then we do not make mistakes," Hyun-woo replied. The first attack came without warning. 3 creatures charged from the left side. They were fast, moving like liquid across the rocks. Young-soo reacted instantly. His weapon fired. 1 creature fell. The others veered away. "Just testing us," Young-soo said. "They will be back." They kept moving. Every step was an effort now. The gravity was wearing them down. The stretchers were heavy. The survivors were frightened, making small sounds of distress. Jiwon began singing. Her voice was soft at first, then stronger. It was an old Korean folk song, simple and repetitive. After a moment, Daeho joined in. Then Boram. The survivors listened in wonder. The humans were singing. In the dark. While being hunted. While carrying injured beings across a hostile moon. Minji, the small feathered creature, asked Jiwon a question. Why do you sing? To keep our spirits up, Jiwon said. To remind ourselves that we are alive. You are not afraid? I am terrified, Jiwon admitted. Fear is natural. But we cannot let it stop us, Minji tried to understand. In coalition culture, fear meant stop. Fear meant flee. Fear was the signal to avoid danger. But humans felt fear and kept moving forward anyway. The second attack was larger. 8 creatures this time, coordinated from multiple directions. The humans formed a circle, protecting the survivors in the center. Youngsu and Hyunwoo fired steadily, creating a perimeter of safety. One creature got through. It went straight for a survivor. Daeho stepped between them. He had no weapon, just a piece of metal pipe from the wreckage. He swung hard. The creature's jaw broke with an audible crack. It fled, yelping in pain. Korth, a large reptilian survivor who had been limping along, stared at Daeho in amazement. Korth was from a warrior species. He had trained his entire life for combat, but he had never seen anyone fight like that. No hesitation, no doubt, just immediate action. How did you know it would work? Korth asked. Daeho shrugged. I did not know. But doing something was better than doing nothing. They reached the halfway point. The Taejin was still 1.5 kilometers away. The creatures were gathering for another attack. Veltara could see at least 15 on the thermal scans. Maybe more. This time they would not test. This time they would commit to a full attack. Hyunwoo saw them coming. Everyone down. Daeho pulled something from his pack. It was a device he had built from ship components. Explosive materials from the emergency flares. A timer from a broken clock. A detonator from the medical kit. He threw it into the middle of the advancing pack. The explosion was brilliant in the darkness. Not large enough to kill, but loud enough to scatter. The creatures fled in panic. Several were wounded. The rest decided these strange beings were too dangerous to hunt. The pack did not return. The humans reached the Taijin an hour later. They loaded the survivors carefully, making sure everyone was secure. Boram continued treating injuries. Jiwon helped the survivors find comfortable positions. Daeho started the engines. The ship lifted off smoothly, leaving Krell 9 behind. In the cargo bay, Minji approached Boram. Thank you, she said quietly. You saved us, Boram smiled. She looked exhausted. Her suit was torn. She had a bruise on her cheek. But she smiled. That is what we do. We help. Why? Boram thought about the question. Because we can. Because you needed help. Because leaving you behind was not an option. Korth spoke up from his corner. You fought the predators. You did not run. Running would not save you, Youngsu said. So we fought. My people are warriors, Korth said. We train from childhood. But I have never seen combat like yours. Where did you learn? Youngsu looked at Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo looked at Daeho. Daeho laughed. Earth taught us, Daeho said simply. Our world tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight back. Or die. The survivors were quiet. They were beginning to understand. These were not monsters. These were not conquerors. These were survivors. The ultimate survivors, shaped by a world that refused to let them live easily. These were Deathworlders. And they had just saved 23 lives that the Coalition had written off as lost. The docking procedure took 2 hours. The Taejin was designed for human use with airlocks and corridors built for Earth gravity. The Coalition station had to adapt its systems to accommodate the primitive human vessel. When the airlocks finally opened, medical teams waited on the other side. They had been briefed on the survivors' conditions. They had prepared treatment areas. They thought they were ready. They were not ready for what they saw. The survivors emerged slowly, many still on the makeshift stretchers. But they were alive. All 23 of them. Not one had died. The Coalition medical teams had estimated maybe half would survive the rescue attempt, but the humans had brought all of them back. Boram walked beside the stretchers, giving instructions to the alien doctors. This one has a broken bone in the 3rd limb. I said it, but it needs proper imaging. This one breathes methane, so check the mixture in her tank. This one was in shock but is stable now. The doctors listened in amazement. Boram had treated 6 different species with completely different biologies. She had used improvised techniques and whatever materials were available, and somehow it had worked. One doctor, a tall being with too many joints, asked a question. "How did you know what to do? You have never seen our species before." Boram smiled tiredly. "I learned anatomy. I learned biology. But mostly I learned to observe. Bodies tell you what they need if you pay attention. Pain, temperature, breathing, these things are universal." The doctor looked at Boram with new respect. "You are very skilled." "No," Boram said. "I just care about keeping people alive." Veltara watched the survivors being taken to the medical wing. Then she watched the humans. They looked exhausted. Their suits were damaged. They had bruises and small injuries, but they were standing, talking, checking their equipment. "Do they ever rest?" she asked Ornsul. "I believe they consider rest to be weakness," Ornsul replied. "That cannot be healthy. For them, perhaps it is normal." Hyunwoo was the last to leave the ship. He carried the data core from the crashed vessel. Jiwon had recovered it from the wreckage. It contained the research data and potentially evidence of the sabotage. A coalition security officer met him at the airlock. "I need to take that for analysis." Hyunwoo handed it over. It was sabotaged. Someone cut the hull deliberately. Someone wanted those scientists dead. The security officer's expression was hard to read, but he seemed disturbed. "We will investigate. Thank you for recovering this." The Council of 7 called an emergency meeting. All members attended, including those who had voted against contacting the humans. They reviewed the footage from Krell 9. They watched the humans cross hostile terrain. They watched them fight off predators. They watched them carry injured aliens for 3 kilometers without complaint. "Remarkable," one council member said. "Terrifying," another replied. Veltara stood before the council. "The humans succeeded where we would have failed. They adapted to conditions none of our species could tolerate. They fought when they should have fled. They carried the wounded when they should have left them behind." "What are they?" Wisp asked. The question was genuine, not rhetorical. "They are what evolution creates when a world refuses to be kind," Veltara said. "They are what happens when a species must fight for every single day of survival." Ornsul added his analysis. "I have studied human history. They have survived ice ages, plagues, famines, wars. Every time their population decreased, they recovered. Every time they faced extinction, they adapted. They are perhaps the most resilient species in the known galaxy." The council was silent for a long moment. Finally, the senior member spoke. "We must decide what to do. The humans have proven their capabilities, but should they be welcomed into the coalition?" "Some will fear them," another member said. "Some should fear them," Veltara replied. "But only those who mean harm to others. The humans are dangerous, yes. But they are dangerous in defense of life, not in pursuit of conquest." The debate continued for hours. Veltara left to check on the survivors. She found Minji in the medical wing, recovered enough to sit up. The small feathered creature looked better. The terror was gone from her eyes. "How are you feeling?" Veltara asked. "Better." The human medicine worked. Minji tilted her head. "I want to thank them." "Where are they?" "Resting, I believe." "Will they leave soon?" "Perhaps. Why?" Minji was quiet for a moment. "I was so afraid when I saw them." "We all were. We had heard stories. We thought they would hurt us, but they did not. No, they saved us." The human called Boram was so gentle. Even when she had to cause pain to help, she apologized. "She held my hand when I was frightened." Minji's eyes showed emotion that Veltara recognized as wonder. "They are not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Monsters." "But they are not monsters. They are protectors." Veltara found this assessment accurate. The humans were dangerous, yes, but they had chosen to use that danger to protect rather than harm. Korth had a different perspective. The large reptilian warrior had insisted on being released from the medical wing early. Veltara found him in the observation deck watching the stars. "You should be resting," she told him. "I have rested enough. I need to speak with the humans." "Why?" Korth flexed his claws. "My people are warriors. We pride ourselves on combat skill. But I saw something on that moon that I have never seen before." "What did you see?" "Efficiency. When the humans fought, there was no wasted movement. No hesitation. They assessed, decided, and acted in seconds. And when one human engaged the predators, the others moved to support without being told. They functioned as one unit. Your people do not fight this way? We fight with honor, with tradition, with ceremonies. Korth's voice carried frustration. But the humans fought to win. Only to win. They used whatever worked. They adapted instantly. That predator I saw Deho strike? He had never seen that species before. But he identified the weak point in its anatomy in seconds and exploited it. You admire them. I want to learn from them. If they will teach me. Veltara found this request surprising. Korth's species rarely admitted that others might know more about combat. But he had seen the humans in action. He had recognized something superior. Young Su agreed to train with Korth. The two met in a practice area the next day. A crowd gathered to watch. Word had spread about the rescue. Everyone wanted to see the humans. Young Su and Korth faced each other. Korth was larger with natural weapons. Young Su was smaller with only his training. They began slowly, testing each other. Korth moved with practiced forms. Young Su moved with practical efficiency. When Korth struck, Young Su was not where the strike landed. When Young Su countered, Korth found himself off balance. The match lasted 10 minutes. Young Su won by getting behind Korth and demonstrating a hold that would have ended the fight. Korth stood up, breathing hard. Teach me, Young Su bowed slightly. Gladly. Ji-won spent her time analyzing the data core. The evidence was clear. Someone had sabotaged the science vessel. Someone within the coalition. She brought her findings to Veltara. This is going to cause problems, Ji-won said. Whoever did this, they had access to coalition systems. They knew the mission parameters. They wanted that research destroyed. What was the research? New propulsion technology. More efficient than current coalition drives. Whoever controls it would have a significant advantage. Veltara felt her stomachs turn. Politics, always politics. I will bring this to the council. Be careful, Ji-won warned. Whoever did this, they have power. They might try again. The investigation began immediately. Coalition security traced the sabotage back to a faction within one of the member species. A group that wanted to maintain the current balance of power. A group that saw new technology as a threat. Arrests were made. The council issued statements. The scandal spread across coalition space. But through it all, the humans waited patiently. They had done their job. They had saved the scientists. They had exposed the conspiracy. Now they waited to see what the coalition would do. Hyunwoo met with Veltara in a quiet observation room. What happens now? The council is debating your status. Some want to offer you full membership. Others want to wait. Some are still afraid. Afraid of what? Veltara gestured to the stars. There are 40,000 known species in the coalition. Most evolved on gentle worlds. They cooperate because it is natural for them. But you evolved on a world that tried to kill you. Your natural state is struggle. Some fear what you might do with coalition technology. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. I understand their fear. We are dangerous, but we choose who we are dangerous to. Can you prove that? We just did. Veltara had no response to that. The galaxy was about to change. The Deathworlders had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. The Coalition Medical Wing was busy for 3 days. Doctors from a dozen species worked to understand how Boram had treated the survivors. Her techniques were crude by Coalition standards, but they worked. More importantly, they worked with limited resources in terrible conditions. One doctor, a spindly being named Trellick, asked to observe Boram work. She agreed, taking him through her process step by step. I learned emergency medicine on Earth, she explained. We have places where resources are limited. War zones, natural disasters, remote areas. You learn to work with what you have. But these techniques, they are not in any coalition medical database. Because you have never needed them. Your medicine is advanced. You have scanners and synthesizers and instant diagnosis. But what happens when those systems fail? What happens when you only have your hands and your knowledge? Trellick was silent. The coalition had never considered this scenario. Their technology was reliable. It did not fail, except when it did. Like on Krell 9, like in situations where advanced species could not survive. Will you teach us? He asked. Boram smiled. Of course. That is why we share knowledge. Word of the rescue spread across coalition space at the speed of light. News traveled through quantum communication networks. Every species heard the story. The Deathworlders had arrived. They had saved lives that the Coalition had written off as lost. They had exposed corruption. They had proved themselves in the worst possible conditions. Reactions were mixed. Some species celebrated. Finally, someone who could go where others could not. Someone who could face the dangers that the Coalition avoided. Someone who did not give up. Other species worried. The humans were too capable, too dangerous, too willing to take risks. What if they decided the Coalition was an enemy? What if their aggression turned outward? But most species were simply curious. They wanted to know more. They wanted to understand. They wanted to meet these strange beings who came from a world that tried to kill them. The Council of Seven debated for a week. The discussions were heated. Some members argued for immediate acceptance. Others wanted more observation. A few wanted to reject contact entirely. Veltara provided testimony. I have watched them closely. They are not conquerors. They are survivors. There is a difference. How can you be certain? Wisp challenged. Their history is filled with war. Yes, and also filled with peace. Filled with art and music and philosophy. They are complicated beings. They contain multitudes, Ornsul added his perspective. The saboteurs wanted those scientists dead. The humans could have taken the research data for themselves. They could have used it as leverage. Instead, they gave it to us freely. They exposed the conspiracy even though it benefited them not at all. This shows character. The debate continued. Finally, a compromise was reached. The humans would be accepted but with a special status. They would be called upon for high-risk operations. In exchange, they would receive technology transfers and trade agreements. They would be the Coalition's guardians for the situations where no one else could survive. Official decision was transmitted to Earth. It would take time for a full diplomatic delegation to arrive. But in the meantime, the Tajin's crew would serve as Earth's representatives. A formal ceremony was planned. All 23 rescued scientists attended. They wanted to thank the humans personally. Minji spoke for the group. We were lost, she said. Her voice was stronger now, recovered from her ordeal. We thought we would die on that moon. But you came. You walked into hell without hesitation. You carried us out. Hyunwoo accepted graciously. We did what anyone would do. No, Korth interrupted. He stood tall, his injuries healed. Not anyone. Most species would have died attempting what you did. Your people are special. You are survivors. The greatest survivors, Ji-won blushed slightly at the praise. We are just humans. Our world made us this way. Then we are grateful for your world, Minji said, even though it was cruel to you. The ceremony concluded with the Council's official declaration. Ambassador Nari had arrived from Earth the previous day. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. She looked like someone's friendly aunt. Veltara had reviewed her file. She was a retired Marine with 3 decades of combat and diplomatic experience. The gentle appearance was deceptive. Nari addressed the Council formally. On behalf of Earth and humanity, I accept your offer of association with the Galactic Coalition. We understand your concerns about our species. We are dangerous. Our world taught us violence alongside compassion. We contain both light and darkness. She paused, looking at each council member in turn. But we also understand something that your species may have forgotten. Alone, any being is vulnerable. Together, we become strong. We do not seek to conquer. We seek to cooperate. We offer our strength in defense of those who need it. We offer our resilience in situations where others cannot survive. We offer our stubbornness in the face of impossible odds. The Council listened carefully. You have evolved on gentle worlds. Nari continued. You have built a civilization on cooperation and mutual benefit. This is beautiful. This is something we admire and wish to join. But the galaxy is not always gentle. There are places where your ships cannot go. There are dangers that your people cannot face. For those situations, you now have us. And if we ask too much? One council member asked. If we send you into danger too often? Nari smiled. Then we will tell you no. We are not slaves. We are not weapons. We are partners, equals. We will help when we can and decline when we cannot. This is the foundation of any healthy relationship. The council seemed satisfied with this answer. The formal vote was taken, 7 in favor, 0 against. Earth was accepted into the Galactic Coalition with the designation of Deathworld Guardians. The celebration lasted into the night. Different species mixed together. Humans shared food from Earth. Aliens shared delicacies from their worlds. Music played, a mix of human songs and alien melodies. Veltara found Hyunwoo on an observation deck watching the stars. Not enjoying the party? Just taking a moment, he said. This is a big day. First contact, alliance with alien species. It is a lot to process. Regrets? No, but I am thinking about what comes next. You said the galaxy has 40,000 species. Most from gentle worlds, but there must be others. Other Deathworlders. Other species that evolved in harsh conditions. There are 3 other Class 12 worlds with spacefaring species, Veltara confirmed. We have contacted one. The others are not yet ready. What are they like? The other Deathworlders? Aggressive, territorial. They declined coalition membership. They prefer isolation. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Maybe we can change that. Maybe they just need to see that cooperation is possible. Or maybe they will see you as competition. Maybe. But I would rather try to make friends than assume enemies. Veltara looked at the human. He was tired. He had just completed an impossible rescue. He had been through a week of ceremonies and negotiations, but he was already thinking about the next challenge, the next opportunity. This was what made humans special. They never stopped moving forward. Your crew has a new assignment, Veltara said. If you accept, what is it? A colony ship, lost in a nebula near a Class 10 death world. Standard coalition ships cannot navigate the energy fields, but the Taejin might be able to. Hyunwoo did not hesitate. We will go. Do you not want to know the details? The risks? There are people who need help. That is all I need to know. This, Veltara thought, was the essence of humanity. They faced danger not because they were fearless, but because they refused to let fear stop them. They helped not because it was easy, but because it was right. The galaxy had spent millions of years evolving species on gentle worlds, species that cooperated naturally, species that avoided conflict, species that lived in peace because their worlds taught them peace. And then Earth happened, a world of fire and ice, a world of predators and prey, a world that killed casually and often, a world that should have destroyed any intelligent species that tried to evolve there. But humans had survived. More than survived. They had thrived. They had turned their world's cruelty into their greatest strength. They had learned to face fear. They had learned to endure. They had learned to never give up, and now they were here, among the stars, ready to help, ready to protect, ready to go where no other species could follow. The Taejin departed the coalition station 3 days later. Young-soo had agreed to continue training Korth. Bo-ram had agreed to teach emergency medicine to coalition doctors. Ji-won had shared Earth's biological database. Daeho had provided technical specifications for the Taejin's design. Humans, it seemed, believed in sharing. The crew's next mission would be dangerous. The nebula was unstable. The Class 10 death world had gravity wells and radiation storms. The colony ship had 300 beings aboard. Most were already dead. Maybe 50 remained alive, but 50 was not 0. 50 meant hope. 50 meant reason to try. As the Taejin accelerated away from the station, Hyunwoo addressed his crew. This will be harder than Krell 9, more dangerous, more complex. Are you ready? Everyone nodded. They had signed up for this. They had trained for this. They were human. They were Deathworlders. This was what they did. Then let us go save some lives, Hyunwoo said.